This is In the Zone with Ian Robb and Dancin Rodda. One's a mental toughness coach who also helps riders with recovery. The other, a horseman with soul, who is also a marriage counselor for the rider and horses. Together, they dive beyond ribbons and rankings to where real riders train, the mind. From elite arenas to quiet barns, this show is about the mental edge, the recovery rhythm, and the heart that keeps you in sync with your horse and yourself. So whether you're tuning in from the tack room or the open road, saddle up. You're in the zone now.
Welcome to In the Zone with Ian Robb and Dancin Rodda. I'm Ian Robb, and we're at the World Equestrian Center in the BEMER cabin, where I'm a partner with BEMER, but also partner of the World Equestrian Center. We're talking about the champions that are made from the inside out. And today we're diving deep into recovery, performance, and the science behind one of the biggest game changers in the equestrian world, BEMER. Let's ride. I'm here with Dr. Joshua Berka as our guest, our very first guest. So we're excited to have him. We are so happy because he has been involved with BEMER for over 17 years. He's been the person in charge of the Medical Expert Center, and he is the utmost person that knows the most about BEMER in my mind and about microcirculation. How you doing, Dr. Joshua Berka?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here, folks.
This theme that we're doing here is because my customers know me and I joke about it, but it's true. I always say that I'm open like 7-Eleven, open all the time. So we're going to ask somewhere between 7 to 11 questions in a 24-minute period. Are you ready to play this game?
Let's do it.
All right. What's actually happening inside the body, horse or human, when you use the BEMER? When they use the BEMER, what's happening inside the horse or the human body?
So when someone is using the BEMER, they're being applied, they're receiving a treatment. The BEMER signal is delivered wirelessly through various applicators with coils. And these coils are designed to target specific areas or regions of the body. And whether horse or human, four-legged or two, the action or the mechanism of action is the same. The BEMER signal is delivered through a pulsed electromagnetic field. And this is inductively stimulating the tissue, so transferring energy, but also transferring information and increasing local blood flow. And the patented BEMER signal is designed to increase blood flow by stimulating the smallest vessels in the body. And this is the microcirculation. And the microcirculation makes up over 3/4 of all the vessels in your body. So in this case, the small things are a big deal.
Now I'm going to have Pete, where you guys might know his voice because he's on the Horse Talk Show. Pete, ask the next question.
Dr. Berka, recovery, how important is that, and how does BEMER help with human as well as horse?
So just like humans, recovery is just as important to horses, maybe even more important. But when we perform, when we do work, when we do stuff, we need oxygen, we need nutrients. These are needed to generate energy, and energy in the body is ATP, and also clear out metabolic waste, which is produced, and this is carbon dioxide, this is like acid, hydrogen. That's why we feel fatigued or even sore. It's called DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, where acidity can build up in the muscles and affect our ability to perform because we haven't recovered properly. This can happen after a heavy workout or a performance. But from my perspective, recovery is just as important as the performance part. And if there's not ample time to give support for recovery, regeneration, rejuvenation, then our future performance will absolutely suffer. And from my perspective, the best way to truly get good recovery is to ensure both you and your horse is getting good sleep, both in quantity and quality.
What is the biggest misconception about the BEMER horse set? And what's the truth?
Biggest misconceptions. I could say this, that one of the myth information would be that the horse set or any of its applicators are safe for any other animals or humans for that matter. The BEMER horse set is intended to be used for horses, period. Not intended to be used on other mammals or animals outside the equus species, so equine only. That would be the biggest thing that I know that goes on sometimes out in the field.
You're 100% correct. We get asked that all the time. Can I use the horse blankets? Thank you for answering that question, because I want everyone to understand that is a mythbuster right there. Mythbuster. Go ahead, Pete.
So I talk a lot about parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. How does the BEMER influence that? And tell us a little bit definition, since you're the doctor, what sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system is?
Yeah, Pete, this is a great question because everything branches from what we call the autonomic nervous system, and that is the balancing things. These are the things that run, like it implies, automatically. So this is split down into basically we can rest and digest. So this is parasympathetic, where you're in a calm, relaxed state and you're able to process. There's also a high level of performance state, which is called sympathetic, or what we do in stress case. And in horses, this is really important because, of course, we know they're prey animals. They're very, very sensitive to stress and can be sometimes what we might look at as overreactive. But this is the way they've survived for however long, millennia, as a species. So the goal is both in human and horse to be in a balanced autonomic state. And the only way we can do this is not being on our toes, worried about the future, or being anxious, or being on our heels, being depressed about what's gone on in the past. Really being in this state of neutralness, of readiness. I like to call it relaxed readiness. And this is also the only state where a human being and or a horse is able to move in and out of what we call the zone, or that flow state, which is not just a flow of blood or fluid in the body. It's a flow state of the mind, of consciousness. And when those two come together, that expression of balance can be seen whether it's on the tennis court or some performance for a human, or from the horse perspective in the ring. And more importantly, how that connection is merged together between horse and human when they're in that balanced state together.
See, Pete, that's why
In the zone.
being in the zone. That's what I was just going to say. We're
Being in the zone. That's right.
In the zone with Ian and Pete. That's what we're doing. So that's why you're leading us off correctly. Now, as you know, that in my cabin, I take care of a lot of the riders by having them try the human set. So I get this question sometimes when a rider with soreness and stress or fatigue, they want to know, how does the human BEMER set help them perform better in the ring?
I mean, no pun intended here, but BEMER will get you back in the saddle and connected with your horse better than anything available on the global market that I'm aware of. BEMER is an acronym for bioelectromagnetic energy regulation. So this already implies that it's going to help with modulating, not producing, but transforming energy in the body. And we're talking about ATP energy, not some airy-fairy energy, real usable form of energy that can be used and is used to support how we perform. This is the currency our body uses for both performance and recovery. And when we do have low energy, our muscles don't work as well as they can when we're giving them ample breaks in recovery. So that means able to get the waste products out faster. That's where blood flow comes in. And soreness is directly related to this acid. I talked about it before, this metabolic waste we talked about earlier. BEMER boosts your blood flow from the inside out, and that supports peak performance, optimal recovery, as well as resilience that keeps both you and your horse riding better.
Do you have any real world examples of how the BEMER helps both horse and rider?
I mean, from my perspective, I'm not, I grew up with horses, got to know that. And so I've always had a very unique connection with these majestic animals. And one of the things when I first started getting back into doing equine research, I'm a human physician, not a vet, but I have such an admiration for these animals. One of the first things I've observed throughout is not just the effects on the rider or the horse, but a term that's used within your field so much is suppleness. That ability to connect with the horse and link or sync up with them. This is one of the most observable things that I've noticed with horse and rider. Yes, you can see independent things where the horse is relaxed, performing better on their own, recovering better, or the rider the same. But really, it's that connection, that oneness that somehow seems to emerge more effectively when both horse and rider are utilizing BEMER as a therapeutic entity, not just for performance recovery, but an ongoing use to keep them in that zone state or balanced state.
So as you know, for the last 8 years since I've been working with you, I brought about 5 sports ambassadors to BEMER. And I've worked with a lot of elite athletes. I worked with 5 professional tennis players and 60 college scholarship athletes. What separates those who use recovery tools like BEMER from those who don't, in your opinion?
It's really the difference between being good or great. And sometimes that's milliseconds, sometimes that's inches. BEMER gives the athlete a competitive advantage, both whether you're in the ring or you're in the ring of life. We can't just go think we can perform with our animals, with our horses, and not have a functional or a balanced life as well. We have to be in that sync of performing and recovering, because it will directly affect the outcome. And so when you look at those athletes who are utilizing BEMER, clearly it works to their advantage. Even some athletes call it their secret weapon, Ian.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you said that.
So if I had a horse that was shut down, how could BEMER help for that horse to come out of that shell?
You know, BEMER's helping bring both the horse and or the human into this state, like I said before, of autonomic balance. And we can see clearly when BEMER therapy is applied to horses, as they express extremely distinct, very distinct behaviors that reflect parasympathetic activation. We're talking about dropping the head, licking the lips, hoof goes up, maybe even peeing, defecating. So directly stimulating, if I might say, parasympathetic activity, or rather down-regulating the sympathetic response and allowing parasympathetic activity to express. Either way, when we're in that state of balance, we're all able to communicate more effectively and subtly, both horse to human and human to horse.
So in my cabin, I work with a lot of the riders, and I really like to have them use that special 3 program on the premium Evo set. Let's go into that a little bit more when we talk about for visualization or meditation using that special 3.
Well, S1, S2, and S3 are specifically deploying not the combination of 10 and 30 hertz, which are an alpha gamma, but only an alpha signal, which is 10 hertz. Very interesting study that was published called 10 hertz, the fulcrum frequency. For those of you who are interested in looking at this, all of our action has to cross through a preparation to then do. And this is a state of active readiness. This is a state of not doing, but preparing to do something. And this is a state of alpha. It's a relaxed state. And this is what's being deployed in the S1, S2, and S3. If you're in the United States or in Europe or Canada, this is the sleep program. And what it does is it helps really hit the brakes, if we can say this, stimulating relaxation. And I mean very, very quick relaxation. When we're in a state of visualization, we're generally crossing through these brain waves. And so many times I don't just have people just sit there, lay down and fall asleep. I will have them really go through the routine, not just within their vision, their feeling, their sense, but their ability to observe themselves while performing, not their self alone, but their horse as well. And so utilizing this as a opportunity to not just train the body, but to train the mind.
Dr. Berka, the biggest thing that I always say, I don't support anything that I don't use.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us how you use BEMER to help what you do, either at home, at work, or if you're doing horses.
Every day I start with BEMER. I look at BEMER as literally longevity hygiene, keeping me in a state of balance, not just from a blood flow or a physical perspective, but a mental, emotional perspective. But we want to keep that tight line in life, and whether you're in the ring or in life. I don't work with horses in this way, but I will use the BEMER daily, twice per day, and in states where I want to really focus on recovery, maybe after a workout or maybe a long golf session or something of that nature, I will do that as a special program, a 20-minute, to really drop my body into recovery state. If I'm also going through some things where I need really deep insight into some things that I'm working with, clinically, non-clinically, personally, I will use those special programs to really bring my body, my mind state, or mind-body, I shouldn't separate them, into a state of reception where I can make better decisions. And also, when people look at high performers, they don't look erratic. When they're in the zone, they almost look like they're doing superhuman type of stuff. And so I like that idea of superhuman type of things or super equine type of things to not be out of the ordinary, but to be a daily expectation that we seek to express within our everyday life, ideally in every moment. And to do that, I'm not saying to depend on the BEMER, but BEMER's a wonderful tool to remember that state of consciousness of being, of flow, so that we can both perform, recover, and more important, connect with ourselves as well as each other.
That was perfect. That was perfect. All right. If a trainer or rider could only remember one sentence about why BEMER matters, What should it be?
BEMER boosts blood flow from the inside out, from within. There's no other pulsed electromagnetic field device that is shown to have an effect on blood flow like BEMER, period. Exclamation point. However you want to say it. So BEMER boost blood flow. That should be your tagline.
BEMER boost blood. I thought you were going to do what we made that vest with microcirculation. Why we live and why we die.
Why we live. The longevity as it relates to blood flow isn't super important, but just from the perspective trainer rider, I need to boost blood flow. I need to enhance energy, performance recovery. That's BEMER's wheelhouse. And everyone wants to be in that state of better performance and enhanced recovery.
I think it's great.
It's good. All right. Before you go, though, if someone was to come to the cabin, they say, what would you say about Ian Robb and your fondest memories of working with me? And why would they want to work with me?
I mean, Ian, you're exemplar as it relates to not just somebody who really is into the performance of these athletes, not just human or horses. I mean, we have two lines here, but your ability to support them in their use of the product, not just saying, here, oh, you pick this up, now go ahead and use it, in guidance for them on daily application so they don't feel like they're out in the dark. And the beautiful thing about this is BEMER's super easy to use. And once you get to using it, it's very easy to use. And so many people who begin to use BEMER, they don't just use it for themselves, they start sharing it with other people. And that's really the goal here, is to really share this technology with as many of our four-legged friends as well as two-legged colleagues as well, our companions. On that note, that's how I would look at that.
I'm going to tell you what, our goal is for you to come down here in December when they have all the Christmas stuff here at the World Equestrian Center in Ocala, Florida, with you and your family, and enjoy this magical time down here at the World Equestrian Center. I want to thank you personally for being here, Pete.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Wonderful. And it's been my pleasure to be on your first episode.
Yeah, I'm excited. What best way to start it off by having you on it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for riding with us in the zone. If today sparked something in you, share it, review it, or pass it down the barn aisle. Until next time, stay focused, ride with feel, and lead with heart.